driving in my car.
In 1971, at the age of 29, Clarence Clemons met with Bruce Springsteen for the first time. This meeting would eventually lead to the big man joining the band. But to understand why, we have to go back a little bit.
It's been a long tour, but it's been a great tour, you know. A long tour like this goes on, you can't wait to stop. But as soon as you stop for a week later, you're ready to go back again. So every night's a new night for you, you know. I love these long tours like this.
Bruce Springsteen, the man who's been rocking stages around the world for decades, is no stranger to the highs and lows that come with fame. We've all watched him pour his soul into every performance, his raspy voice and electrifying presence commanding attention from the very first note. But there's one part of his story that's perhaps the most heartbreaking, and that's the death of his best friend, Clarence Clemons. Bruce and Clarence weren't just bandmates in the legendary E Street Band. They were brothers, bound by more than just music. Their connection was something deeper, something unspoken, and when Clarence passed away in 2011, Bruce was left reeling from the loss of a man who had been his emotional anchor, his confidant, and the one person who always had his back through the craziness of life in the limelight.
Saxophonist Clarence Clemons has died. A spokeswoman for Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band says he passed away after suffering complications from a stroke. The band's spokeswoman says Clemons died at a hospital in Palm Beach, Florida, surrounded by loved ones. Springsteen released a statement saying the loss of Clemons is immeasurable.
In recent years, Bruce has been more open about the impact of Clemons' death on his life, and in some of the most vulnerable moments of his career, he's shared just how much it still affects him. What makes this tribute to Clarence so heartbreaking is the rawness with which Bruce speaks about their bond.
When Clarence was dying, do I have it right that you went to see him and that he actually passed away? You were sitting and strumming the guitar to him?
Yes.
That is just so... You went to see him, you had your guitar, and you felt... I assume he was not conscious at that point, but you felt internally like, hey, maybe Clarence can hear me.
Well, I had a feeling he could hear me because he could squeeze your hand.
It wasn't just about being in a band together, it was about being two people who understood each other in a way that few others could. Bruce has spoken about how, whenever the pressures of fame or personal struggles weighed on him, Clarence's laughter, his infectious joy, and his steady presence were like a balm for his weary soul. It wasn't just that Clarence was the big guy on the saxophone, he was the guy who could make everything feel okay, even when everything around Bruce was falling apart. And that's what makes Springsteen's grief so palpable. We've seen Bruce perform night after night, hit after hit, but behind every triumphant show is a man who is still carrying the weight of that loss. After Clemons died, Bruce openly admitted that he didn't know if he could continue performing without him. There were moments when he considered walking away from the stage altogether, not wanting to face the spotlight without his closest friend by his side. The idea of playing without Clarence's powerful saxophone solos, without his larger-than-life energy, was almost too much to bear. It's not just about losing a bandmate, it's about losing the person who had been with you through it all, the one who helped you make sense of the chaos and the madness of life. Yet Bruce didn't quit. He pressed on, as much for his own healing as for the memory of his best friend. And with every song he performs, you can hear the love, the pain, and the tribute to Clarence in every note.
Of the flowers and tributes outside, photos and candles and flowers, and inside, the stage where so much great music had been created was instead sad and solemn yesterday in the wake of the death of the big man.
Bruce didn't just continue playing the hits, he poured his heart into them in a way that spoke to the deep void left by Clarence's absence. It's like each performance is a way to keep Clemons alive, to keep their shared history and friendship alive, even though Clarence is no longer physically there. The music became their way of communicating, a silent promise that no matter what happened, they would always be together in spirit. Springsteen's tribute to Clarence Clemons goes far beyond just a mention in a speech before a song or a passing nod to the saxophonist during a concert. It's in the way Bruce plays his music, the way he infuses it with so much emotion that you can't help but feel the weight of the loss in every chord, every line. Bruce doesn't just play songs for the crowd, he plays them for Clarence. In a recent performance, Bruce gave the audience a rare glimpse into the depth of his grief. And it wasn't just about the sadness. It was about the love and gratitude he still feels for Clarence, even years after his passing. He talked about their friendship, their shared moments of joy and struggle, and how difficult it is to play without the big man standing beside him. The audience, many of whom have been following Bruce for years, understood that this tribute wasn't just for the fans, it was for Clarence, the brother he lost. There's something deeply moving about the way Bruce honors Clarence in his music, but what truly breaks our hearts is the fact that no matter how much time passes, Bruce will never truly stop grieving the loss of his best friend. That's the harsh reality of grief. It doesn't fade away, no matter how many years go by. And in a way, that's what makes Bruce's performances even more powerful. Every time he steps on stage, he's carrying a part of Clarence with him, performing not just for the audience, but for the friendship that changed his life. Every time Bruce belts out one of those powerful songs, we know that he's singing for Clarence too, because no matter how much time has passed, Clarence will always be a part of the music, a part of Bruce's soul, a part of the E Street Band. It's heartbreaking, yes, but it's also beautiful in its own right. Because even though Clarence is gone, his memory lives on in every note that Bruce plays.